Semiramis, the shadow before the throne. Let me begin not with the legends, but with the structure itself, with the stones, with the ascending terraces that once carried the weight of a queen's ambition. From the lower platforms, rising step by step toward the light, the ancient foundations appear almost unreal. Wide stairways, 10 feet across, stone beams, vaults that carry trees as if they were earth. And at the top of these layers, hanging between sky and brick, stood the gardens that later writers would call one of the wonders of the world. But long before the world called them wonders, they were simply a gift for a woman who had not forgotten the hills of her own homeland. Semiramis, the name that later centuries wrapped in myth, was, in the beginning, only the daughter of a Median king. A woman who loved the green slopes of her native land far more than the endless plains of Babylon. When she married Nebuchadnezzar, the city became her home, but not her heart. And so the king raised for her a mountain built of stone instead of soil, vaults instead of roots, and terraces instead of cliffs. Here, trees from distant lands were planted in deep beds of earth, supported by immense substructures, so strong that even the heaviest cedars could find footing. Water ran through hidden channels, lifted from the Euphrates by devices lost to time, and the queen walked among the leaves as if she had never left the mountains of Media. But this is where the story shifts, because every monument carries a shadow, and behind this peaceful garden stood a woman who would soon command armies. Writers of the ancient world tell us that Semiramis possessed a presence that could quiet a crowd. She could step into a riot and still the air, not by force, but by the weight of her authority. And when the news came to her that unrest was brewing in the provinces, she did not hide behind palace walls. She stood before her people, and the noise died. Some said the gods had marked her. Others believed her courage alone was enough to bend men's fear. Whatever the truth, her rise was only beginning. Before long, she would build walls, raise cities, and shape rivers. She would command armies that stretched beyond the horizon, and she would ride into lands no queen before or after had dared to enter. But every ascent begins from the ground. So let us stand again on those terraces, among the leaves that tremble in the desert wind, and look out from the place where her legend first took root. For from here, from this height where earth and stone meet the sky, the story of Semiramis truly begins. The Temple of Bel, the tower that reached for heaven. Let me take you now, away from the gardens, across the long stone avenues of Babylon, to the structure that dominated the skyline long before Semiramis ever rose to power. The Temple of Bel, a monument so vast, so heavy with meaning, that even the ruins of its memory cast a shadow on history. If I stand in its imagined courtyard now, I can almost feel the weight of it. Not stone upon stone, but age upon age. 8 massive platforms, each one rising above the other. A staircase for giants, spiraling toward the heavens. Some called it a pyramid, others a tower. But no single name can contain its scale. Herodotus wrote of its width, Diodorus of its height, Strabo of its shape. And yet all three together still fail to capture what it must have been to walk beneath it. A mountain built by hands. A challenge thrown at the sky. Inside, the wealth was beyond measure. Gold vessels, silver altars, holy furnishings carved with symbols long forgotten. One statue alone, they said, weighed 1,000 Babylonian talents, a weight that would break any modern scale. The numbers themselves are dizzying. 6,300 gold talents, converted by Greek reckoning, swelling into millions upon millions in today's measure. Even for Babylon, it was excess beyond belief. But the tower did not stand unchanged. It endured wars, earthquakes, the ambitions of kings, and the contempt of conquerors. Xerxes stripped it. Alexander sought to rebuild it. 10,000 men were put to work clearing the rubble. Yet even then, after 2 years, they had barely touched the base. No monument rises without a purpose, and no monument falls without leaving a scar. The Temple of Bel, whether a house of worship, a stairway to heaven, or a provocation to the divine, became all three. And like everything in Babylon, it lived equal parts glory and prophecy. For the same voices that praised it also foretold its ruin, its collapse, its emptiness. Stand with me here, among these imagined stones, and you can almost hear the echoes, not of priests or kings, but of the warnings carved into time itself. Semiramis ascends, the queen of 1,000 ambitions. To understand Semiramis, you must imagine a woman who stepped into power not by inheritance, but by inevitability. She did not seize the throne. She grew into it. Her presence alone could quiet rebellion. Crowds that shook with anger fell silent the moment she appeared. Some believed this was divine favor. Others said it was fear. But those who truly watched her knew it was something else entirely. Authority, pure and unadorned. Writers claim she built cities across Asia. Walls, canals, fortresses. So many that later historians confused her works with those of entire generations. It was said that wherever she traveled, monuments sprang up behind her like footprints carved in stone. And the people followed, not because they were compelled, but because she moved like someone who had already seen the end of every road. Yet her power was not without its cost. Whispers spread. Court rivals plotted. The tension between her and her own son, Ninya's, tightened like a rope drawn slowly, day by day. Prophets warned her that her fall would come from within her own house, and that when the moment arrived, even her armies, so vast, so loyal, would not save her. Semiramis knew this, and still, she pressed forward. For a queen who had commanded continents, fear was only another landscape to cross. The Eastern Campaign, the River of Elephants. If the gardens were her heart, and the tower her shadow, then the march to India was her fire. Semiramis did not lead a small force. She gathered soldiers from every province of her empire, infantry, cavalry, engineers, and beasts of war the like of which the East had never seen. The Indians, famed for their war elephants, believed themselves unmatched. Semiramis answered them with a deception so audacious it still startles the imagination. She built camels disguised as elephants. Not toys, but full-scale constructs designed to deceive from a distance. A tactic to disorient the enemy, to challenge their expectations, to buy time for her armies to position themselves. When the two forces clashed, the plain shook with a violence that no chronicler could fully capture. Thousands of boats were sunk, thousands of soldiers taken captive, and yet the battle did not break her. It hardened her. She crossed rivers under fire, lost legions in the chaos, left 60,000 men to guard a single bridge. Every decision carried the weight of a kingdom. But the Indian king did not retreat. He pushed back with relentless force. His elephants, real elephants, tore through her formations, smashing the wooden constructs she had built, and scattering her troops. Still she held. Still she fought. Still she advanced, until the river itself rose against her. Facing defeat, she withdrew, not in shame, but in the terrible silence of someone who knows. She has reached the edge of her destiny. He fall in the veil of legend. Returning from the east, Semiramis found her empire changed. Her son Ninya's, the prophecy made flesh, moved against her. Some say he betrayed her openly. Others whisper that she surrendered willingly, foreseeing the end long before it came. What we know is that she stepped back. She laid down her authority, retired from the world of men, and faded into a silence that only legends can inhabit. Some claimed she ascended like a goddess. Others said she transformed into a dove, a symbol of her name. Most simply remembered that she had lived 62 years and ruled 42 of them. But numbers cannot measure the life she carved into the map of the world. Stand with me now, on the final terrace of her story, and look out across the lands she once commanded. From Babylon to Bactria, from Media to the shadow of India, her ambition moved like a storm across continents. And though time has eroded her monuments, though dust covers the cities she raised, her presence lingers, not in stone, not in gold, but in the idea that a single life, even one wrapped in myth, can bend history. And that is where I leave you for now, at the threshold between legend and memory, between the world she shaped and the echo she left behind.